exposes their plans very clearly. I hope your listeners will clearly see how much influence Zion has in this country. I guess that's a book.
Yeah, the Learn of the Zion, Protocols of Zion, yeah. Henry Ford liked it. One of the great speakers here was a friend of mine. Was a Swiss journalist. He looked like, sounded like a German. He was a good friend of mine. And when he came here, they brought him here to speak over in Virginia, and we spoke on many programs. He's married to an Egyptian woman, and they had a son, and his son was a journalist also. This was a long time. His son was, I don't know, I guess I got the face that people like to talk to. So in Europe at that time, he was not in with anybody. He was curly headed, and he was very nice looking, but he was curly headed, and he was too light to be black and not light enough to be white. So he felt out of place, and he would tell, all the big shots would tell me that, like I'd get my thing, and everybody just start crying, let me know what the problem is. They did that. I don't know, maybe that's the way I seem. And I always did the best I could. But when he told me what was happening, I said, oh man, that ain't nothing. I say, you just high yellow. He said, high yellow? I said, yeah, if you was over there with us, you would be right there with us. You'd be just high yellow. So he ran and he told his father, Baba, I'm high yellow. I guess the man thought, what did that nigga tell you? He had no idea what I was. But, both of them was big journalists. But anyway, I guess this guy, he's on up there now. Shoot, man, he must be a good 60 years old. But that was his problem. Now, they talked about Zionist, protocols of Zionist. The brother told me about the book. We all had it. He said that book was written by a Russian agent. It said that there was a lot of people in the 1800s, late 1800s, they would go to, the Russian freedom fighters would go to Paris and all of that place. And so this Russian agent under the Tsar studied all the people. And he realized that there was a lot of Jews with him and da. So what he did is he wrote, this is what's the name? Everybody's kind of agree with it. He wrote the Protocols of Zion off of the basic truths that they had been able to glean throughout history. And when you read it, you would think it was true. Yeah, you would think it was true, but it's manufactured. It was written by a Russian, according to my best sources, it was written by and it must be true because the Zionists want you to have that book so they can challenge you on it, that book. Yeah. In fact, not to change the subject, but that was a program in Indiana. And the brothers had invited me, and I went there with when Sister Bahia and I first got, this was back in maybe 1990 or something. So when we had the program, I think we were the only black people there. So the rest of the people was foreigners. And then the Zionists was coming to harass them because the program was about Zionism or something like that. And I took my books. Remember, I used to have all them books. And I had the Protocols of Zion and all them other books against Zionists that I don't carry anymore. They're over in the library just packed up. So anyway, this is a place where the Zionists, they was laughing a lot because the speakers were, just imagine in those days, the immigrant Pakistanis speaking with a strong Pakistani accent. And we have our programs, and the babies at 2, 3 years old, they can get up and walk up on the stage and do all that. So these guys was laughing at that. So, and they was being really funny. They'd have chicken feathers on, like when you tar and feather somebody, how they look. These Zionists was really, they was making fun of the Muslims. So I said, yeah, okay, fine. So then I spoke, and then they came up. I tell you what, it was Pakistanis, it was Malays. It was at the university, not Carbondale, but right below Chicago. It was one of the, right below Chicago. I think it was in Illinois and not Indiana. It was in Illinois. If I could think of that university. It's right below Chicago. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, a lot of Malaysians there and all that. And they're all just immigrants. That's normal for them. So anyway, the Zionists came up to my table and started talking crazy. I told Sister by here, you stand back there and just get behind me and watch. Of course, I was younger then, of course. So them Zionists started playing, what is this book here? I said, yeah, okay. So I stepped in between them Zionists and I just said, bam, bam. Then I took 1 foot back, and there's 4 of them. Bam. By the time I got to the other one, he broke out. So I busted up 3 of them right away. Because I used to box a little bit then. So then they called the police. And the police was taken down. Well, what happened? And I, in riots, so I made sure that I went in and washed my hands because your knuckles would be gray, from, stuff like that. So I went in, knocked all that out, and then the lotion, whatever it was I could, I put it on. You know what I mean? I had that stuff that we have that sell on the table with the oils and stuff. I just rubbed all on my knuckles, so that ain't nothing. I've been in riots and penitentiaries, and I know what they look for. If they're so, well, what happened? They saying to the police, he hit me, and he did this, and he did that. I said, And then I asked everybody, so didn't nobody see it? It happened too quick. Boom, 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 just like that. And then after that, I'm just standing back behind the table. You know what? I mean, it happened that fast. Boom, boom, boom. And that's it. And they actually they didn't see it. What did you see? They admitted. I don't see nothing else. So finally, the sergeant is taking all the stuff. He says, I'm getting so, he says, because my parents were in the Holocaust. I said, I'm home free now. Shoot, you're a Jew. You can't. I'm home free, which I was. They couldn't do nothing to me. Finally, he says, would you guys just shake hands? I said, shoot, I just shake hands with a Jew anytime. I just, how about y'all? Come on now. They was mad. Anyway, those were the experiences that we would have in those days. But the protocols of Zion, Henry Ford loved it. And he said, I like that. He used to print them, and he'd had a Dearborn paper. He'd print them in his paper, stuff like that. But the journalist that I trust more that's into that stuff, he said, and others said it was a forgery. But here's what he said. He says it's like Jules Verne. You know, Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And he said, like Jules Verne, and they had From the Earth to the Moon or something. And they had a big gun all underground. And, he said, if you did your mathematical studies, the thing that it would, the amount of powder and all that it would take to send that thing up that far the mathematics was correct. The only thing is a nigga would be smashed right up against, you know what I mean? Your body, just imagine you inside of a big gun that's going to shoot you to outer space. God, no. You would be like the people that jumped out of the World Trade Center. They were just a blot, right? Anyway, so that's what he said. He said, the protocols of Zion is like Jules Verne. Everything, you add it up, it comes out right. It's a study. He said a Russian agent trying to cause trouble. Because remember, a lot of the people for the freedom movement from under the Tsar was Jews and others. Yeah, he said, and
So just to his question though, or his point, can we say that now the Zionists are exposing themselves?
oh my goodness, you talking about happy? No, I mean, they're on the African thing. They say, no. The Zionists, see, they get more and more arrogant. The Zionists used to have influence in America, but they didn't control it. For the last decades, remember we've talked about they control it now. They have absolute control. And the same thing about those people we said we just silent on them, the ladies that got elected before to the Congress. You see how they acting now? Ilham Umar and them and the little...
That's what they call it.
Shh. They voting for Zion. They that's why we said we silent on it, because it looked like, why no men? Why you don't give no gangster no job? Why is sweetie pies that crumble under a little, and why you take a barmaid, the little Ocasio, the lady, right? A barmaid. Anyway, it's okay. Yeah. So anyway, that's why we trust what we got to do. And we whooping they behind. And that's where it is. See, we're not afraid of the Zionists. Everybody else is afraid of them. They're really afraid. That's why the FBI would send a little smoke signals and they won't put their foot in. We're trying to drag them in. We say, you save your country. You stole this country from the Indians and you worked us to death, and you gonna let these bums steal it from you? We'll help you keep it, and we'll all live here happy together. Now, not because you passing no freedom and liberty out, but that's our charge for helping save America. We don't want to be no Captain America or nothing like that. We want, what did we call it before? America the Good. We've been on the same thing all along, America the Good. The Zionists, their fingerprints, they're done for. You don't have to worry about them. They always drive to the cliff